Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and in some cases, good afternoon, or possibly good evening. You know who you are, you know who I am, and you know what this is. For the uninitiated, I'll break it down. This is the other side of ropes. This is the video column about professional wrestling on an independent level from an independent wrestler. Me, I'm your host, Red, aka Shaka, sub-moniker Black Magic. It's come to my attention a lot lately on Facebook, but before I even get to that, a lot of boys and I on the Philly scene, we had a bit of a loss over the weekend, the early part of the weekend. Most of you don't know him, but for the ones who do, from the Grand Wrestling Alliance days, the mid to late '90s, lost one of the founding members of that particular era. I knew him originally as Mikey Raw, but that evolved shortly thereafter as Hunk Heiser. Also, 5 days prior to that, we lost a forefather from the Mid-South, Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation days. In fact, he had the distinction of being the sole African American champion in that particular territory. I'm talking about none other than former UWF television champion Savannah Jack. We lost him at the age of 62. So they've both moved on to the other side. So without much ado in that particular case, Savannah, Hunk, we'll see you guys later on the other side. Apparently you guys got called home. And if any of you happen to see some of the other guys, like Verdi, or any other of our frats that we lost, tell them the rest of us down here, we said hey, and we'll see you later. But meanwhile, more earthly affairs. It's come to my attention on Facebook. People bringing up, well, this is always a constant because I talk about this on different levels. People talk about wrestling changing. Now, over the weekend, I turned around and actually watched the pay-per-view. Don't get excited. It wasn't the E. It wasn't TNA. And I didn't pay for it. Matter of fact, it wasn't even from this country. In fact, it was something I used to watch quite often when I broke in. In fact, the last time I bought any of the footage was about not quite 10 years ago. I'm talking about New Japan. In fact, they've kind of gone a little bit closer to the edge of sports entertainment, but the way they go about it, it's not quite the same as how we would go about it. They still have a cordial mannerism towards it. But it was a 4-hour affair, and it took me a better part of the weekend to watch the whole thing. And I gotta admit, even with the new faces, whoa, heavy stuff. I remember why I used to love watching this stuff, taking notes. Even with the Gaijin. And they do have Gaijin champions. Giant Bernard and Lance Archer. If you don't know who Giant Bernard is, over here, you know him as Albert. And he ain't as furry, but just as deadly. But hey. Oh. And Kokojin Gojiro. Y'all know him as MPP. Yeah, he was there too. Just to name a couple Gaijin. Let's see. But you know what cracks me up? People talk about the state of how wrestling is over here. I was like, well, guess what, man? What you want? Mainstream has become the whole thing about the butt of the joke. You want to talk about the fourth wall being down. Fourth wall always comes down on television, but it always goes back up. Where else you going to watch and where else you going to watch it? Just saying. You know? And I've said that before. That just means that's a hint and a half to everybody on this side. Because here's the thing. TNA, mid-tier, whatever you want to call it. E. See, there's a saying in corporate America, and you've heard of it even if you're not in corporate America, that glass ceiling. Well, guess what that is? Yeah, you keep butting your head. Now, see, I'm one of those guys that wasn't even trying to butt his head against the glass ceiling because I'm not worrying about that. Because I know that's a whole different level because of the way it went and how they're going about it. See, the shoulders that we were supposed to be standing on, now you stand on the rest of those, they get more and more fragile. Because now you got guys, they don't play up the credibility. They don't play up the whole thing about athletic backgrounds. They go more on the aesthetic. Do you look athletic? Do you look like you can be in shape? Yeah, sure. You might have the background, but not going to play that up. They stopped. They figure it don't matter. Because you got people that's running this whole thing. They don't care about that whole bit. They don't care. They just want to make the money. They can get your money. They don't give two craps about you after that. And they'll just keep it moving. That's how it goes. Now down here, that can change. Everybody's talking about this whole suspension of belief and the other buzzwords that you want to throw in there. That's because some people get too complacent, don't care, don't want to look back and figure out not much you left behind. Don't want to try. See, you talk about MMA. Oh, I don't know if I want to market that. Holmes, MMA came from us. People you don't hear about, the pioneers behind all that, were wrestlers. Why do you think I mentioned guys like Billy Robinson and Carl Gotch, the Shamrocks and everything? That ties in. Kazushi Sakuraba, you want to call him a wrestler? Okay, fine. He was a shoe fighter, but it was catch wrestling. Catch as catch can. The first time I've heard it was Lord Alfred Hayes mentioned it doing commentary, watching WWF programming. Nobody ever talks about that sort of thing, but it's there. It wasn't a pink elephant in the room, but that is a style. You want to talk about grappling styles? Everybody keeps talking about scholastic and collegiate. Look, high school, that was folk style. And then it evolves on and on. When you get to the collegiate level, you might see Greco-Roman. That's where you see your saltos and all your suples, your takedowns for your pins. Submissions come later. Catch as catch can, submissions are in there. And you can tell them apart. Your wrist locks, that's what they call them in catch style. In jiu-jitsu, judo, it's Kimura or an Americana. Just saying. Gi or no gi. You want to go on a sambo, you have gugabs and submissions there. That's where you start seeing your leg locks. You see your chokes. Neck cranks and all, you'll see them in there too. If you don't see them in there, you'll see them in catch style. Because catch style is good for compressions and calf cutters and bicep slices and all that good stuff. If you take the time to do the research, you will see this. And then that whole thing, guess what? You can cough up your money from grandma passing away and put it on the bond for your license, but most of your money should be going into advertising. Because how are people going to know about the show if you don't advertise it? People talk about how over you can get. Screw that. When's the last time you heard about somebody actually being a draw? You can't be a draw if you don't advertise. People have missed that point. But I'm going to let that marinate for a while. Let that stew in your mind once again. Because now I got to go into my other bit because people been asking me about the shout outs. And YouTube can be very, very anal. And once you get past 15.5 minutes, yeah, it gets rejected. Which is why I'm shooting this thing again on a Wednesday morning. But it's cool. I don't mind doing it for people. And plus, I love y'all too much. So there it is. And yeah, I'm sipping on some green tea. It ain't for my voice. Otherwise, if I sounded froggy, I wouldn't be doing this. Anyway, to my man, White Trash Johnny Logan, down over in Vegas. And the northern side of the state, Mr. Graves, Damian Type 1 each, over in Carson City. For NWA Wild West, Nick the Sickness. Over in Oklahoma for Vintage Pro, Miss Dawn Holly. Over in the southeast, we're talking Florida, folks. My man, the Chocolate Chop, Marcus Gibbs. Also Bobby Sanford. In Georgia, my man, Blade Walker. Also Scotty Bullwinkle, wherever you are. And speaking of wherever you may be, Ghetto Blaster. Over in Tennessee, Memphis type, possibly. Luscious, Bob, Geary, and Lady Amazon. Up to the Midwest over in Chicago, Atlas J. Horn. And down in Kentucky, Miss Moondog Fifi. Over in Ohio, I believe, Kamala Jr. To my people over in the West, on the Eastern Shore coming on up. Let's see. Massive Mike, E.L. Stanley, D-Line. Collectively, or should I say respectively, Black Ice and Body Snatcher. Trina Stratus, Chris Nightmare. To the crew down in Power Pro Wrestling. To the crew in Elite Generation Wrestling. My crew over in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance, including Risky Business Inc., Doc Diamond, and the Wrestle Devastation Wrestling Federation. To the 215 and 212 Empire. And because I can't always get this straight, to my man, Mr. Cage, Sean Carr, I.B. Green, for 3DW in upstate New York. For my peeps over across the pond, PT Player, Teetotaler Tommy Stevens, my new niece, Emily, to Drewy and Woo, to the Ginger Snap and the Milkshake, to the Gunner, Tobes, Tony Allen. Oh yeah, down in South Africa, to the dysfunctional Medu clan. Dysfunctional as you may be, you're still family. To my people over in Belgium, Robin, Lori, Homeless, Gangrene, Rob Raw, Thorax, Rob Raw and Wendy. To my peeps over in Holland, Andy F. and Patterson, G-Spot, Uncle Vito, del Villatore, Toscani, Gabriel Angelfire, oh, Mr. Hagendorn, to Twan and Hots, Erndadad. It's my peeps over in Germany, V. Gates, Alice Gut, Xeris, Craig, the House of Jacks, the Susies, Mina Tokta, you know who you are, Sandy, Kathy, Sandra, Andrea and Top Catch, Johnny Tiger in Deutsche Wrestling Alliance, Marcus and Pro Wrestling Fighters, the boys down in Austria, Rick the Voice Valentine, MC Logan, the Finnish, or should I say, the Fight Club Finlandia, the Starbuck, to the Lubeck crew, Pro Wrestling Eve, Mina, Yinny, and Jazzy. And the rest of y'all I may have forgotten. You're not in the front of my mind right now, but you're definitely in the bottom of my heart. Incense. I'm out, people. Peace. This has been Red. This is the other side of ropes, and it's been real.